Hi everyone. The Toronto Real Estate Board has posted its May report with the heading reading that although the May sales been very strong, they fell below the March record sales. At the same time, it actually posted a number of diagrams showing that the sales in May of 2021 compared to May of 2020 were basically up by 160%. And the average sales price was up by 28.4%. But what was interesting is this. In the same breath, they showed that the price increase between April and May sales of 2021 were only 1.1%. So when you're looking at this, you're probably in for quite a bit of a reaction or a shock. When you see the 160% increase in sales and 28% price rise, if you're a buyer, what's your reaction? Am I priced out of the market? Did I miss the boat? What's the next step? If you're a seller and you're looking at that only 1.1% increase in price from April to May, and if you see that the sales have actually dropped, oh my God, did I miss my boat? Should I have sold my house earlier? What do I do next? So we have to be very careful when we look at percentages and averages. But I think in order to answer what should be coming next, we have to look at where we're coming from. Now, we do not drive by looking in a rearview mirror. We have to understand what was behind us, but we look forward. So let's talk about what has happened. And I think when we look at it, the reason we had such a crazy market and the reason we've seen record sales is because of what happened in December, January, and February. And what we like to call the situation is that perfect storm. I think a lot of us probably seen that movie where basically all elements combined together and created this crazy storm that has never been seen before. Well, I think that's this kind of similar analogy. So what happened is in December, we've experienced more sales than was ever expected seasonally, but in fact by 2,000 units more. We sold 2,000 homes more than previously historically sold. And what was interesting is this. Same thing happened in January. We sold 2,500 homes more than seasonally done in the past. So what that did is actually created extra demand, but pushed the traditionally low inventories down even more, which created a panic, created bidding wars, and that perfect storm, which resulted in us hearing these postings about 20 to 50 offers, multiple offers, people bidding and fighting for this listing, for this house, overpaying by 100 to 200,000 over asking price. Well, we have to be careful about the asking price because a lot of agents will go in and sometimes they underprice the house by 100,000 and they say, oh, it sold 150 over asking. Did it sell 150 over asking or did it really sell maybe 50,000 over market? So we have to always be careful between the market price and the asking price. The next thing we have to understand is this. Where are we heading next? So with this perfect storm, January, we set a new record. February, we set a new record. March, we set another record. And what we have to understand is that these records are historically high sales compared to 100-year history of Toronto Real Estate Board. We've never sold as much as we sold in those 3 months. But what was interesting is this. April was a strong month, but it was no longer a record. In fact, what we saw, our sales actually volume declined and our inventory started to rise. So when we reached our number of homes available on Toronto Real Estate Board for sale to just over 10,000 homes, the market has changed. There became more options. And what did that mean? It means that we're heading into this crazy seller's market. That crazy seller's market is going to probably remain there until probably end of June, maybe part of July, until we reach the number of homes on the market being around 15,000 homes available. And when I say 15,000, I'm talking about condominiums, townhouses, all kinds of type of homes from that perspective. So what does that mean? Well, it means this. Instead of having those crazy bidding wars and people overpaying by 100,000+. Now we're going to probably see in a crazy seller's market only about 8 to 10 offers, or maybe 5 to 10 offers at the same time. And the price being offered over market maybe between 50 and 75,000. And once we hit the 15,000 homes available, we're going to be moving to the seller's market. I think it's easy to kind of react and say, oh, you know what? Our inventory sales are dropping. Our sales volume is dropping. The price increase per month is decreasing. Does that mean the market is going to crash? Does it mean that, hey, we're heading towards a buyer market? The truth of the matter is, we are probably going to be looking at a seller's market, still higher demand for properties, then leaning towards the seller, benefit of the seller than the buyer, probably for the duration of 2021 and part of 2022. And the reason for that is our government, due to the epidemic, in order to maintain the economy and to help, the government did two things. One, they've issued a lot of loans and support in billions of dollars to upkeep the economy. But also what they've done is they lowered the prime lending rate to prime minus, which brought the interest rates below 3%, which made it super affordable, which drove the demand even higher. Now, there's a very good reason why they did that. And they're in kind of an interesting predicament. Because from one side, they need to keep the economy going. One, they've spent billions of dollars. Where's that going to come in? The money going to come from? They can either raise the taxes, which is going to be pretty bad for all of us, right? Or if you look at the number of transactions in the real estate sales that generated by this low rate, it translated to millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue. But not only that, think about the number of transactions generated by each real estate sale. The lawyers being employed, the tradespeople to renovate, the moving companies, the products that needed to renovate the home or so on. The real estate industry is actually driving our gross domestic product and sustaining our economy growth. So it's really unrealistic for the government, given our state of economy, to change the rate at any given time. And I realize that at this point in time, we're worried about affordability. But I think, the government is more concerned about the state of the economy. But there's other things that our government is doing to try to address the affordability aspect. So I guess the next step is this. As I mentioned, there's a few other things the government can do, and that is, we've probably heard on the news, effective June 1st, they brought in a higher level of stress test. Well, first of all, we know the stress test is not new. It was brought in 2017 to do two things. One was to cool the market, and two, to ensure that people are able to afford their homes once their mortgage comes for renewal, once the interest rates rise in the future. Now, once that came out, we saw the CBC post a headline saying the stress test is there to cool the market and to reduce the pool of qualified buyers. The truth of the matter is, the stress test is not going to have any effect on the market. What's interesting to see is going to look that way because of when it was brought in. It was brought in when the sales volume was declining. It was brought in June. Well, in April, we had a drop in sales. In May, we had a drop in sales. In June, we're going to have a lower sales. In fact, when we compare June sales for the first week to the same time in May, we actually see that we sold 655 homes less than last once. So guess what? Was that given to the stress test? No. Stress test, it just came in. But it certainly looks that way, right? So the stress test, although it does make a change as to between 4 and 5% of how much home you can buy for, it reduces, it still doesn't take you out of the market. So then it gives you a question. What should I do? Well, what's my next step? From the buyer's perspective, the issue is there's always hope. In fact, in the 30 years that I've been selling real estate, I've never seen anybody being priced out of the market. There's always solutions and opportunities. It's just, you're still able to buy. You may buy a slightly different type of a home, maybe in a slightly different area, but we can still have you own property or find you the right investments. If you're a seller and you're wondering about what should I do about, should I sell my home? Did I miss the boat? The answer is this. There's always ability to sell. The difference now is because it's going to be still a seller's market, but not the crazy market that we had, it's going to be more important understanding who is the right agent that's going to represent you. Because it's not about just putting a for sale sign and selling over asking because everybody's bidding. What it means is with the seller's market, it means that probably 30% of the properties that are going to come on the market may not sell over asking. They may actually sell below what they're asking. So as a buyer, that's great news. As a seller, it puts more pressure on you to making sure that you choose the right marketing strategy, you choose the right real estate agent who is able to negotiate, because it's not about the price. Because if you're just negotiating on price, the buyers are always looking for the lowest price. Would you agree? The seller is looking for the highest. How do you cross that bridge? So it's finding the right agents that can identify the right property and sell based on value. So the other thing I'd like to tell you is this. We've talked about a lot of averages. We talked about general numbers. But what we have to keep in mind is that the real estate market is not uniform. It's not an average. It varies from area to area. So what happens in the Toronto market may be very different to what's happening in the York or Durham market. In fact, what might happen from one neighborhood to the other is going to vary. The other thing is price categories is going to vary, right? What may happen in the price categories between 1.2 million to 1.8 million is very different to what's happening between the homes that are 600 to 1.1 million. So choosing the right, understanding what's happening for your specific situation is very important. So if you have questions, if you're thinking of buying or selling and you're not sure what to do, give us a call. Because regardless of the market, myself and my team, we've always been able to find that perfect solution for you. We've sold every property that we've ever listed. In fact, we've sold every property that other agents failed to sell. And for the buyers, we found those perfect homes without going through the 12, 13, 14, 15 showings. In fact, a lot of our buyers buy within the first 2 or 3 homes that we show. There's always a solution, and there's the right solution for you. Give us a shout. We are here to help.